Right, all you up-all-nighters, you insomniatic TV watchers, gamers, grapplers, and drivers, and especially you streetlight crusaders from all around the world. Welcome to the 5:30 in the morning edition of the Tuesday Night Special. I am your insomniatic host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing you the best from the North, South, East, and West that the world of music, games, and wrestling has to offer. And seeing the fact that we've not only hit a milestone during this month of madness in the late night hours, but also recovering from a little daylight savings time or nightlight losing time difference, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what we got prepared for a very special late night milestone of madness edition of the Tuesday Night Special. Because we kick things off by finding out what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from Madison Square Garden in the city so nice they named it twice, New York. Also, besides that, we go into a very special toddler cartoon edition of the As Seen on TV, and it's a Nickelodeon show, so take a guess on which toddler show it's gonna be. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out some video game hits, clips, as well as scratching that indie itch you've got from the world of Cade for another edition of the Cade Triple S Deluxe. Then we find out what sort of crazy weather we can expect for this week and what crazy outfit Dan the Weatherman Stu's got up his sleeve and if he made it safely back from New Orleans for another edition of the weather update. And according to Carla the Maestro, I do believe that guy with the knife and the other people might show up too. They don't know. Okay, just warn me in advance. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before we have to report an incident here tonight, we wrap up this show yet another edition of the Indy Report, which is me giving you guys two news stories followed up by local concert information from local artists performing in local area live near you. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and most importantly, let that blue and silver confetti rain to celebrate our 53rd milestone under the streetlights. Cause it's time for us to bring some fun and delight on your street-lit, moonlit Tuesday night. Only here, right here, on the Tuesday Night Special. So let's get this streetlight show started, folks. Right, all you streetlight crusaders, and I guess a couple of you wrestling fans who are still up for tonight. Welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And now it's time for us to talk about what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from New York, or New York City, or Madison Square Garden, or the Gorilla Building home, and whatever other nickname they've earned over the years, including the Big Apple, the one I almost forgot to mention, even though I haven't seen an apple there in years. But besides that, folks, and the many nicknames of the neighbor of a certain East Coast city we may live in, Monday Night Raw would kick off with none other than main event Jey Uso, saying that he's now in New York City and would lead everybody into a yeet-like party, even to the point where there was information shared that there was a wedding that actually played Jey Uso's music. So, in the footsteps of his father having You Look Fly Today play at a wedding, now Jey Uso's music of It's Just Me, Us, playing at a wedding? Yep, now you know the man's made it. But before we go any further, something we forgot to mention, that Monday Night Raw would start off actually for once with a match, which would see Grayson Waller going one-on-one against Jey Uso. And prior to the match, seeing Grayson Waller tearing apart a Yeet sign, and for none other than Austin Theory to actually still do the motions, during this match where action would go back and forth, we would see a rope-hung rolling elbow by Grayson Waller for a near fall. Even an NBA street-like elbow from the mid-ropes for a near fall. Even seeing none other than Jey Uso getting caught with a rolling flatliner from the outside of the ring, and for none other than Austin Theory to actually do the whole motions of Jey Uso's entrance outside the ring, hence the reason for the laughter. Cause it's silly. It really is. But something that wasn't a laughing matter, which would wrap up the match, folks, would see not only a super kick to Grayson Waller, and even one Austin Theory right before a spear would connect, and for main event Jey Uso to win the first match of the night via pinfall. But before he could lead everybody in Madison Square Garden into some form of Yeet-like party, he would get hit from behind by Austin Theory, and then immediately would see him in a 2-on-1 beatdown for Jey Uso to somehow figure his way out of it, super kick the daylights out of Grayson Waller, and even hit Austin Theory with a nasty spear and an Uso splash, only for Gunther to come from out of nowhere with a sleeper hold, putting him to sleep once again, and continuing to live up to his promise to make the life of one Jey Uso a living hell, leading into one of the most violent display of violence this company has ever seen. But immediately after that display of just violence by Gunther, we would see in the ring none other than Logan Paul. And Logan Paul would say that people came here to see him, not anybody else but him, and would even mention the fact that AJ Styles calling him out, and he decided to beat him to the punch from doing it. And then would mention the fact that he would be somebody like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and insert other name drop here by Logan Paul, to say that he's one of the people who's not afraid to run away, or someone who doesn't run away from a big opportunity or a moment. And would say that, Rock, if you're listening out there, my soul's for sale too. And would say the thing we said before, and would also say that John Cena figured out after 20 long years that nice guys finish last. And then would immediately say, and went out to the crowd saying that the celebrities came to see him, and would immediately point out Schultz, who was in the front row, and would say, hey, Schultz, who you came to see? I came to see the cage match. Yeah, I know that, but who you really came to see? I came to see CM Punk and Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. Nobody came here to see you. Which Logan Paul would obviously take offense to, and immediately decide to take him over the barricade, and was about to suplex him in the center of the ring, only for the Phenomenal One to run down to the ring and prove why he's phenomenal. Not only pulling off a phenomenal blitz, and even hitting a phenomenal forearm, for him to say, hey, I'm not done with you yet, and say, oh, you're somebody who don't like to run away from opportunities, so you're gonna walk your sorry ass to the back, huh? This is New York City. This is New York City. And thank you for the reminder, AJ Styles, but at the same time, Logan Paul would walk to live to fight another day instead of taking on the opportunity that he was just about to get. For carrying Cross backstage to say, oh, you know, that was evil, but I was expecting something along the lines of Logan Paul getting powerbombed on the stairs. That's a little evil. I'm looking for some more evil. Yes, the puppet master himself trying to manipulate the situation as usual, and I got a feeling he might be working really good at it. Who knows? Then the next match to take place on Monday Night Raw would see none other than the New Day going one-on-one against Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio in a tornado tag match. And prior to this match, and now typical New Day fashion, they would make fun of just about every single New York sports team and would say you should be really rooting on the real franchise team of this place, the Brooklyn Nets, even though they were the New Jersey Nets and haven't won a championship since they left New Jersey. Just pointing out facts. Even though I don't watch sports, that's the one sports statistic I do know. But then would immediately mention their families and the fact that they had to come into this rat, piss, and pigeon-infested town to wrestle against Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, and would say that you should thank God for the New Day being here tonight, only to get cut off by a commercial, and for this match to have action going back and forth and all around the ring with a coffee casualty of Pat McAfee thanks to Kofi Kingston slapping it out of his hands. And I should know that coffee is extremely expensive, especially in New York. So yeah, ouch, ouch. But not as painful as that double powerbomb counter that would happen to Dragon Lee on the floor, leading to a modified Rana off the mid-rope, and seeing none other than a double foot stomp rope hung move directly to Kofi Kingston for a near fall by Dragon Lee. Even seeing a 619 but a frog splash counter for a near fall thanks to Dragon Lee. But unfortunately, this match would come to an emphatic and crazy end, seeing a masked wrestler makes its way to the ring and not only pull off a Rana off the barricade, but even a flying headbutt to Dragon Lee, even seeing him pull off a delayed German suplex to Rey Mysterio before saying, "Gracias!" and then making his way out of here being chased by security. Meanwhile, in the ring, we would see the Daybreak being hit to Rey Mysterio for the New Day to win this match via hook or by crook via pinfall. Now, later on in the night, we would see Kathy Kelly a little perturbed about what happened and asking Chad Gable, "Hey, wasn't that you in that lucha mask?" For Chad Gable to say, "I don't have any idea who you're talking about or what you're talking about," and would say that the New York security around here is pretty lax. And then for Kathy Kelly to say, "Oh, come on, who are you fooling? Somebody with the same build, the same outfit, and the same look as you just mysteriously attacked Rey Mysterio and company at ringside," only for security to show somebody being carried out wearing that said luchador mask, and for Chad Gable to prove his innocence, but at the same time, what I believed, he attacked somebody, put the mask on him, and tried to clear his innocence, because that was Chad Gable, and I got a feeling that was the luchador mask he got from Mexico when he was on that sabbatical. Yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But outside of that rocket science theory, according to Carl and the Maestro, that I came up with, the next thing to take place on this said programming would see none other than the genius of the Sky herself, Io Sky, celebrating the fact that she's champion and being interviewed by Michael Cole, and would say that she's glad to be champion here in Madison Square Garden and prove that the impossible is possible, and she's going to WrestleMania for the fans to cheer, hoot, and holler about it, and for Bianca Belair to come out at the request of Michael Cole. And Bianca would immediately tell her congratulations and she's excited for us to go to WrestleMania, only for Michael Cole to ask, "Hey, I'm glad you're excited about this match, but at the same time, why were you out there for that championship match? And if you weren't out there, do you believe that you played the X Factor in this championship match for the reason why in the world Io is going to WrestleMania instead of Rhea?" And then for Bianca to say that she was out there for herself and just wanted to see who was her WrestleMania opponent gonna be. And at the same time, the fact that she laid hands on Rhea during that because Rhea got in her face, and I wasn't gonna stand down for nobody. only for Rhea Ripley to come out and would immediately press the question and would say that there was no reason for her to be out there, and the only reason she was out there is because she was afraid to fight her at WrestleMania and really should have tried to handle her business with Jade Naomi. All the while Io tried to get in the middle of a conversation and for both of them to shove her out of the way while having a back and forth argument about emotions going way out of control due to the recent Jade incident. Now, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, this past week on SmackDown, Jade was found out to be attacked by none other than Naomi. And the reason why Naomi did it is because she believed that Jade was sucking off the said spotlight that Bianca had and tried to take the fame and the glory that she worked so hard to earn. And at the same time would say that she still wanted to be friends with Bianca, for Bianca to just walk out, and then for Naomi to say, I should have pushed her harder, I should have tried to take her out sooner, and then would call her some questionable words for Jade to show up and go to work and beat her up again for no security to show up. And then for Naomi to say Bianca before getting jaded in the center of the ring. And after that bit of a mess, Bianca, as we return back to Monday Night Raw, would get still in that argument back and forth with her for Io to slap the daylights out of not only Rhea, but also Bianca, saying that she's champion and doesn't want to be disrespected and that people need to recognize that I'm champion, which is true. But at the same time, I got a feeling this is leading toward a triple threat match like no other for WrestleMania. But besides that bit of a threat, folks, the next thing that would take place on Monday Night Raw would see none other than the Judgment Day backstage talking about their plans, and for Finn Balor still to be brooding like a member of the Brood, whether it be Gangrel, Christian, or Edge, and would talk about how Braun Breaker disrespected him and look for his next target for his revenge that he doesn't know where to aim at anymore. For Dominic Mysterio to remind Finn Balor that, yeah, I got you a match next week for the Intercontinental Championship. Not for me, but for you. And then for them to hug it out and for Dominic Mysterio to have a weird look on his face, but at the same time for Finn Balor to be happy and chipper once again, knowing he's got an Intercontinental Championship match next week. And for Dominic Mysterio to say, oh, I believe in Finn. I believe he got this handled. The plot thickens. But that would not be the end of the business of the Judgment Day, because we would find out that Raquel would be going one-on-one against none other than Bayley for the #1 contendership shot at the Intercontinental Championship of the women's variety. And what did none other than Laya Valkyria would have to say about all this? She would say that she doesn't care who wins, the championship is still staying on her shoulder, but would give props to Ivy Nile despite her being a terrible human being. And yeah, not to mention a great wrestler, but still, terrible human being because of her actions. And during this said contest, what a power game would really shine during this said contest, not only with a Scottish sickle for a near fall after a head swing during this said match, but would even see the modified Vader bomb that she would turn into a corkscrew elbow for a near fall, for Bayley to come back with a jaw-jacking stunner on the ropes, not once but twice, and the second one off of Brett's rope for a near fall, for this match to come to an emphatic end with a Bayley the Belly by Raquel onto the table, only for Bayley to come back inside the ring after the count of 9, and all this while none other than Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio tried to play distractor during this said contest, which did pay dividends, because after she would get back inside the ring, boot to the face, Tanahana bomb, and your new #1 contender, none other than Bayley, or should I say Raquel Rodriguez, via pinfall. Because Carl and Michael said it would be absolutely hilarious if we would see Bayley do a Tanahana bomb during that match. Maybe in 2K25, I don't know. I think she had move theft. And according to Carl and Maestro, you might be right. You might be right. then immediately after that, and something we almost forgot to mention, would be the fact that Cody Rhodes would be in attendance in the Garden, as well as Macaulay Culkin and his brother, and Fabulous and other celebrities that they clearly tried to point out throughout the entire night of Monday Night Raw. And Cody Rhodes would say that he would be in attendance tonight because this is the Mecca, this is the home, and the place where wrestling happens in Madison Square Garden. Which he's right, because several WrestleManias, Survivor Series, and even SummerSlams would take place in that very building. And would say that he's not mad at John Cena for what he's done, but he's definitely mad about the fact of what he tweeted on Twitter this past week, saying that great people do things, and whatever sort of quote it may have been, but at the same time would say that, yeah, he feels like John Cena's one of those basketball coaches that are on the sidelines who gives people orders and say a whole bunch of things, but at this point he feels like he needs to step to the side, and would say that his dream and the number 17 that's gonna happen at WrestleMania is not gonna happen. And would inform John Cena, who was not there tonight but will show up next week in Belgium to face off against Cody Rhodes, that he's gonna have the unfortunate task to beat his hero at WrestleMania to prevent that 17-time World Championship reign, and would say that after WrestleMania, he's gonna prove that he's the captain now. So what, Captain John Phillips or John Cena? You know, I tried to tie it in with that Tom Hanks film, but no, Carl and the Maestro just waved that off. And after that took place, folks, the next thing we would head into is our main event of the evening, which would see none other than Seth Rollins going one-on-one against CM Punk inside of a steel cage. And if you're wondering, did they try to go for pinfalls? Did they try to turn this into a classic steel cage match that they've been mentioning throughout the entire night? Nope. This would be nothing less than a case of just violence acting against violence and rage being had in this cage. Because Seth Rollins would decide to powerbomb none other than CM Punk into the cage and literally tried to cheese grate his face into the cage on multiple occasions, and would give him an out by opening up the cage and telling him, you can leave now to stop this beating. You can leave right now. For none other than CM Punk to flip him off, come back in this match, hit him with a GTS, and offer him the same offer that he got earlier to leave the cage. For Seth Rollins to flip him off, and for both of them to try to beat the daylights out of each other. For CM Punk to pull off 3 Macho Man-like elbows in the Garden for a near fall. A superplex almost off the top of the cage itself for a near fall by Seth Rollins. GTS, near fall. Escape out of the Anaconda Vice into a stomp, near fall. And even a counter super stomp from Brett's rope that would lead into a third GTS for this match, still a near fall. Even seeing them using their own finishers by Punk doing a stomp to Seth Rollins for near fall. Even seeing Punk looking at that cage door very tempting, but for Seth Rollins to say, if you want this house, if you want my house, earn it, earn it. For Seth Rollins to come back and beat the daylights out of none other than CM Punk with not only a GTS, but a stomp afterwards combination, still for near fall. But ultimately, this match would come to an emphatic end because we have a runtime of 2.5 hours, according to Carl and the Maestro, for Netflix Raw, only for a Brett Rope stomp to see Seth Rollins, instead of going for a pin, to be pulled out of the cage. But by who? Well, none other than the man he said that was injured and was never coming back anytime soon, none other than Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns would help Seth Rollins to win this match, but at the same time wasn't really helping him, was looking to get his pound of flesh by not only pulling off a Superman punch, but also a spear on the outside of the cage, with Seth Rollins looking like he saw a ghost, which, yeah, the ghost of violence past that he would experience, because after that, we would see Roman Reigns listening to a little bit of Nelly getting stomping in his Air Force Ones by stomping the daylights right out of Seth Rollins while wearing Air Forces. Now, are they Air Forces according to Colin to my show? I don't know. I'm not a shoe aficionado, but I am an aficionado of someone going after someone else for revenge, like this match, because then we would see Roman Reigns trying to put the head of Seth Rollins on the stairs and was really about to finish him off, only for security to finally arrive somehow, and for Roman Reigns to see CM Punk in the ring with Paul Heyman and get pissed off just a little bit more, slam Punk into the cage, hit him with a spear, for Roman Reigns to let out a tribal roar, and for Raw to come to an end with everybody acknowledging Roman Reigns for this week. Now, will Roman Reigns successfully get his revenge, and will it somehow lead to a WrestleMania match like no other? And what of Punk? What if the favor comes into play during this whole incident? And will we see a new Intercontinental Champion with Finn Balor finally getting his revenge and a title back around his waist? Or will Braun Breaker break him in half like he's broken everybody before? And what of John Cena? Will he come out with brand new music, or will he still try to pretend to be Superman like he usually does? We find out the answers to that and more on a very special international Belgium-style edition next week for Monday Night Raw. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more of that streetlight delight as the Tuesday Night Special rolls on right after this. So don't go downstairs for that pre or post midnight snack just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you Insomniatic TV channel surfers out there tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And now it's time for us to go into another Nick Madness edition of the As Seen on TV, and the show we have up on the plate, which is a classy Chapeau classic, none other than Rugrats. Yes, Carla the Maestro, that's the child family we were talking about before, and yeah, that's the one. That's the one. And the meat and potatoes for this said show would feature a couple of kids who could secretly talk behind their parents' back, going on adventures in their day-to-day lives. And that's the best meat and potatoes we have for this said show. And with the meat and potatoes out of the way, folks, what did I love about this show? Well, outside of all of the adventures that these kids would be able to go on, unbeknownst to their parents and grandparents, also would be the different people that were featured during this said show as well, too, outside of the cool music. But the people that were featured during this show, folks, would not only see Elizabeth Daily, who would play Tommy Pickles for 171 episodes of Rugrats, but would also play none other than Dottie in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. also would play Lauren in Valley Girl, as well as playing Buttercup in 78 episodes of the Powerpuff Girls. And according to Carla the Maestro, would also revise her role as Tommy Pickles in the video game as well too. Nice! And the next character we have up on the plate would be none other than the late great Christine Kanavunga. And hopefully we said that last name right, because she would play none other than Chucky Finster, best friend to Tommy Pickles for so many of years for 142 episodes of the said show, but would also play none other than Dexter, a part of Dexter's Laboratory for 58 episodes, and would even play the voice of the pig known as Babe in the 1995 classic film, and would play Mrs. Remo in the said film of Jerry Maguire, as well as revising her role as Dexter during the TV film of Ego Trip in 1999. Nice! Next up on the plate, you have none other than Nancy Cartwright, who would play Chucky Finster for 26 episodes, and also would play none other, and get this folks, Bart Simpson and Nelson, a part of 779 episodes of The Simpsons. Jeez. But would also play Bart Simpson in the Simpson movie in 2007, also playing Bart Simpson in the Simpsons video game of The Simpsons Hit and Run, still need to find that game, and would also play a secretary during the 98 film of Godzilla. Next on the plate, you would have none other than Cade Suzy, and hopefully we said that name right, because she would play Lilith DeVille, a part of the Rugrats for well over 166 episodes, as well as playing Fillion as well too, as well as playing young Nick in Zootopia, Lola Bunny in the original Space Jam film, and also playing none other than Hubert Farnsworth in 21 episodes of Futurama. Next up after that, you would have none other than Melaine Chartoff, or Charoff? Carla the Maestro said we can go with the second one, who would play none other than Dee Dee Pickles, a part of 156 episodes of Rugrats, as well as playing none other than the various amount of people during the TV show in the 80s known as Fridays. Never knew they had a show called Fridays, but played it for 59 episodes, as well as playing none other than Principal Grace Musso and Peter Lewis Can't Lose. And Carla the Maestro said Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Oh, I said Peter. Oh, yeah, never mind. For 72 episodes. And even playing Robin in 2 episodes of Seinfeld, as well as playing Dr. Mary Kaiser for 5 episodes of Newhart. Then you have none other than Cheryl Chase, who would play none other than Angelica Pickles, probably one of the meanest girls on the planet, for well over 152 episodes of the show, as well as playing none other than Angelica Pickles, a part of the said film for the Rugrats, as well as playing her during the video game and the tiny watch I had when I was a kid. We might as well throw that in there too. And of course playing Hubert, a part of the 93 film of Addams Family Values. Still a favorite of mine too. Then you have none other than the late great Jack Riley, who would play Stu Pickles for 147 episodes of the show The Rugrats, as well as playing none other than the TV newsman, a part of the film of Spaceballs in '87, as well as playing Riley in The Long Goodbye in 1973, and would also be a part of the History of the World Part 1 as a Stone Soldier in '81, as well as playing Riley Quinn in the McCabe and Mrs. Miller show in 1971. And according to Carla the Maestro, that was a movie. They wish it was a show, but it was a movie. All right? Then next up on the plate, you have none other than Michael Bell, who would play Chaz Finster for 142 episodes of the show, but would also be responsible for playing Prowl, Scrapper, and Swoop, a part of the Transformers, the movie film in '86, as well as playing Gleeman Blocks and Lawrence, a part of Ratchet and Clank Deadlock in 2005, and also playing Raziel in Soul Reaver 2, an additional crew member in The Time Traveler's Wife in 2009, and also would revise his role as Prowl, a part of the Transformers 40th anniversary event. Nice! Then you have the woman of 1,000 voices herself, none other than Tara Strong, who would play the youngest of the Pickles family of Dill Pickles for 73 episodes of this said show of Rugrats, as well as playing, and Carl and Maestro said you might as well get the whole list out, Harley Quinn in the 2011 version of Batman Arkham City, as well as playing none other than Barbara Gordon and Batgirl in The Killing Joke in 2016. Even playing Princess Twilight Sparkle in My Little Pony the movie, Bubbles a part of the Powerpuff Girls, Raven a part of Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, Bubbles and revising her role in the said movie or TV show of Jellystone, and also last but not least, also playing none other than Juliet Starling, a part of the Lollipop Chainsaw video game. Did that cover everything? And Carl and Michael said no, but we have to move on because we don't have all night to list our accomplishments. Right. But to get back on track, folks, you also have David Doyle, who would not only play none other than Grandpa Lou Pickles, probably one of my favorite characters part of the show, for 82 episodes of this said fine programming, but would also play none other than Walter Lugilin, a part of Capricorn 1, as well as playing John Bosley in 109 episodes of Charlie's Angels, Homer Arno in the Vigilante Force in 76, even Pepe the Cricket in the Adventures of Pinocchio. Now, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be... that's not the right cricket, is it? And no, they said that's not the cricket you're thinking of. Just move on. All right? All right? Anyway, folks, you have none other than Tress McNally, who would not only during this show play Charlotte Pickles, but would even play none other than Dot Warner, a part of the Animaniacs for 99 episodes. Even play Linda and Petunia, a part of 144 episodes of Futurama. Even would play Booberella and the Sweet Old Lady, a part of the 2007 film of The Simpsons. Even would play the mother of none other than Principal Skinner, Agnes Skinner, and Dolph, a part of 652 episodes of The Simpsons. Then you have the late great Joe Alasky, who would not only during this show play Grandpa Lou Pickles for 48 episodes, but would even play none other than Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and others a part of Looney Tunes Back in Action, as well as playing Stinky, a part of the said movie of Casper in 95, and would also play Duck Dodgers, a part of the 2003 TV series of Duck Dodgers, and would also play Yosemite Sam, a part of Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 88. And Carl and the Maestro said we can mention one more, because we don't want to be here all night with all these famous people. You sure? Well, I might as well go for it. And the last one we'll mention is none other than Donique Kwan, who would play Kimmy Fisher, or Kimmy Finster, thank you for the correction, Carl and the Maestro, for 27 episodes, a part of Rugrats, as well as playing the role again in All Grown Up for 42 episodes. Even playing Trixie, a part of 31 episodes of The Fairly Odd Parents, and would also be a part of the Rugrats in Paris film in 2000 and the Go Wild film in 2003. Now, my favorite episode of this said show would have to be the episode where Angelica would go face-to-face with Susie Carmichael, aka Creed Summer, who was a part of the show for 38 episodes, and Yeah, I had to mention her because she would also play none other than number 5, a part of the Kids Next Door, probably one of the coolest of the agents a part of that show, and would truly prove that she was just a little bit better than Angelica and actually helped out the kids who were constantly being, tortured by Angelica and her doll that she would have of Cynthia, which was missing a large clump of hair out of the side of her head and would always bug the daylights out of me whenever she tried to brush it. But the fact that she beat her in a pudding eating contest to the point where Angelica went down like a sack of potatoes made me laugh really hard on several different occasions. And seeing the fact that this show would originally kick off and Carl and the Maestro said, "Wait, aren't you forgetting something?" Oh yeah, I almost forgot, and thank goodness for reminding me, Carl and the Maestro, that this show originally was supposed to go off the air back in 1997 and would actually send a fond farewell and salute, but due to the popularity of this said show, due to the reruns that would take place, a 4th season would air back in 1997, continuing the show for another couple of years. And this show, which we originally thought the end date of it was, and Carl and the Maestro bringing up the papers saying that this show originally would come to an end as of August 1st of 2004 after kicking off as of August 11th of 1991, making it possibly one of the longest running Nicktoons of all time behind SpongeBob SquarePants, with well over, and get this folks, well over and I still can't believe this, well over 172 episodes spanned over 327 segments. And seeing the fact that we don't know how to review TV shows along the lines of TV Guide or any of those other TV shows that you know of out there, we say this: if you guys want to go ahead and watch a show where a baby's got to do what a baby's got to do in a dog-eat-dog world that sees them talking earlier than their parents ever realized, yet having cool adventures every single afternoon on your television sets or in the late night hours, depending on what time you're able to watch it, then I recommend you go out there, pick up your TV channel remotes, and watch that show. And Carl and the Maestro reminding me that, yeah, we almost forgot to add in this little note that they actually brought back the series back in 2021 for it to last for another 2 years after that, proving how timeless this show truly is, folks. And with that little note out of the way, I think it's time for us to head back into that music, and when we return, we'll be back with more of that streetlight delight as the Tuesday Night Special rolls on right after this. So don't go watching reruns of Seinfeld just yet, folks, and stay tuned. We're back with the Insomniatic show that's still giving a salute to Nickelodeon cartoons from around the world, only known as the Tuesday Night Special. And Carl and the Maestro told me that the original Classy Chapeau cartoon would be none other than Ren and Stimpy. Really? But then again, it did come out a couple of years prior to that one, and it would be considered one of the 3rd longest running animated series of all time, behind SpongeBob SquarePants and the Fairly Odd Parents. Not bad. But outside of the accolades of a cool show that comes from our childhood, I think it's time for us to check out a couple of those video game hits, clips, and scratch that indie itch you've got from the world of IndieCade for another edition of the IndieCade Triple S Deluxe. And we kick things off with the art wall. And the art wall picture that we have up for this week comes from the developers City of From Naught Inc., with their said game of Keyword 2 Nightfall. Oh, nice name for the game. And the artwork that they provided for this week shows some form of alien spaceship with golden ring powers right next to the right side of what appears to be the engine, looking to dock at a docking station that's right in front of us. That's out in the middle of space. And this reminds me, for some strange reason, of a combination of space cases with Stargate SG-1. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to ride that ship and drive it, but maybe give a tiny little improvement to it so you don't get lost out in space. Because I got a feeling that space station they're at might be a couple of clicks off from the actual space station that we're supposed to go to. And Carl and the Maestro said, where were they supposed to go to actually? Well, it was some random planet called Nightclore, but I don't know where it is. But they might. They might. But besides mentioning random planets, folks, we now head on over towards the sound wall. And the sound we have up for this week comes from none other than, and according to Carl and the Maestro, it comes from, and they're still scrambling over in the corner to find the name, thanks guys, but it comes from none other than No Ward with their said song of, and struggling again to find a name, Handsome Humanoids Hold the Phone Mix from the video game Knuckle Sandwich. And when I close my eyes while listening into this sound, it automatically reminds me of, well, the show that we used to host called Street Noise. And if you're wondering if it involves us recording people honking their horns and getting mad in traffic, you're wrong. It actually involves a whole bunch of musical artists using things they find off the street to make cool songs. Now, the one song I do remember one guy creating had something to do with Nassau, and we almost got a copyright strike because of it, because it sounded suspiciously like Funky Nassau. And according to Carl and the Maestro, it was Funky Nassau, and we did get a copyright strike for that. Oh yeah, but after they heard their version of it being played on trash cans and garbage cans, they said, oh, you know what, we'll let them slide with it. And the show only lasted 3 episodes because we got a whole bunch of noise complaints from banging on trash cans at around 3:25 in the morning. Yeah, it was a problem. It was a problem. But besides that problem, folks, we now head on over to the Screenshot Saturday Showcase. And the picture we have up comes from none other than Bite Runners with Drug Dealer Simulator 2. And the picture that we have up for this week shows our hero or drug dealer of some sort at the docks, overlooking a whole bunch of fish hanging out by the docks. And of course, looking in the far distance at the trees and the mountains, and what appears to be a dock with a cargo box off on the far right with apparently some form of cage lurking behind him. Now, this automatically reminds me of Far Cry. Yep, definitely reminds me of Far Cry. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that if it does come down to you having to take somebody down or out in it, that you can use the cool takedowns that were featured in Far Cry, because they're very effective. And also, here's hoping you get a companion to help you out on the job too, because you may need some help. And according to Carl and the Maestro, with what you're pulling, you're definitely going to need some help. And luckily for you, it's a co-op adventure. Nice. And with that said, folks, we now make our way directly on over towards those indie games to scratch that indie itch you've got at home. And the first game we have up comes from What's His Face, literally their name, I'm not making it up, with their said game of Greg's Amusement Park. Delago with their set game of Taro Megla Malefico. Himsid with their set game of Broken. A Jumpy Guy with their set game of The Secret Ingredient. Bloodful with their set game of Bloodful. And finally, last but not least, Pixel with their set game of Modded Project Zero. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games to help you scratch that indie itch you've got at home, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Indie Itch page of one man only known as itch.io under the games section to check out all of those cool games for yourselves. But you may be there for a while, because there's a million of them. It really is. And if you also want to go ahead and check out any other cool things that were a part of the Art Wall, Sound Wall, Screenshot Saturday Showcase, or even have your games featured over there as well, then you can head on over to the IndieCade.tumblr page of one man only known as IndieCade.tumblr.com, or head on over to their Facebook page known as IndieCade, or even their Twitter, Flickr, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Soundcloud, Steam Machine, or website that are all named the same, but it's just as critically acclaimed, only known as, you guessed it folks, IndieCade. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music and continue to listen into these diamonds in the rough as we try to turn your Tuesday night into a Friday night. Only here, right here, on the Tuesday Night Special. So don't go watching infomercials just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you Streetlight Crusaders, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And during the break, we almost forgot to mention to you fans at home from the world of IndieCade that the games for the IndieCade Festival registration is now officially open until April 14th of 2025 at noon. But for those out there who wants to wait a little bit later, yes, of course, the submissions will be open until June 2nd of 2025. And all of the games that will be entered will be mentioned during the IndieCade's Festival Awards, amongst other forms of IndieCade Festival activities that will take place, including the IndieCade's Horizon Showcase. And as a bit of a heads up, all games that will be mentioned during the Horizon Showcase will be read here for the Tuesday Night Special. And that kicks off as of March 19th of 2025. Yeah, we're going to be mentioning a lot of games this month. Might as well call it Indie Madness while we're at it. And speaking of sheer madness and the reason why we had to stall for time, making his way into the room here for Music Village headquarters, assisted by Vinny, Barney, and his other associate, none other than Dan the Weatherman Stu, here to bring us the 5-day weather forecast for this week. Dan the Weatherman Stu, how was your trip to New Orleans? And the microphone is all yours. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, it's your boy from Chicago, Illinois, Dan the Weatherman Stu, here to bring you the 5-day weather forecast for this week. And Dan the Weatherman Stu's trip was good until they showed up. Scared a lot of people there. Hey, whoa. What do you mean we scared a lot of people? Coming from a guy who was on a float like a flamingo, you mean we scared people? You scared people. Yeah, Bonnie, I got this. Don't worry. Before this turns into a fight, did you at least pay them back? And according to the guy with the giant toothpick-like blade over in the corner, nodding his head, yeah. But where did you get the money for all that? Dan the Weatherman Stu had to borrow for the summer budget again. My bad. Every year, man. Every single year. I can't have nothing. So, how do you plan to pay me back now? Dan the Weatherman Stu was gonna give you a gift in the future. Don't worry about it. Okay, don't worry about it, but the summer budget is gone thanks to you once again making deals with shady people. I mean, not shady people, wonderful businessmen that happen to do wonderful things for this wonderful show. And thank you for the board and the mic stand. I do appreciate it, so don't hurt me. But while I go talk to Vinny, Barney, and the rest of them over in the corner, why won't you go and do the weather before somebody gets hurt? Please. I said please this time. Go do the weather. All right. So for tonight, that's right, Tuesday night, it's going to be a low of 36. Cloudy skies all around with winds going north at 6 miles per hour. And on Wednesday, the cloudy days continues, cause it's gonna be a high of 54, low of 33, mostly cloudy skies with winds going northeast at 7 miles per hour. And on Thursday, another windy day for you, cause it's gonna be a high of 51, low of 33, mostly cloudy skies with winds going east, northeast at 8 miles per hour. And on Friday, start of the St. Patrick's Day weekend, bueno, cause it's gonna be a high of 50, more clouds in the sky, yeah. Cause it's gonna be a high of 57, low of 51. Cloudy skies all around with winds going southeast at 8 miles per hour. And on Sunday, not a sunny day at all. Cause it's gonna be a high of 68, low of 53. Rainy skies all around at 75%, with winds going south at 18 miles per hour. Hold on to your hats for that day. And now you know, cause I've gotta go, because I am Dan the Weatherman Stu and I am through for the weather broadcast for this week. And now back to the man who's holding a fancy suit in his hand, DJ Smokey for the Tuesday Night Show. All right, Dan the Weatherman Stu, before you ask me why in the world I'm holding on to this suit, apparently, according to the boys over there, this weekend I'm gonna need it for something special. I don't know what that special thing is, but they handed me an envelope and said to read it on Music Village this week. I'm worried, but at the same time excited. So it should be something fun. But they also gave you an envelope too, and they said you should have it. Here you go. Dan the Weatherman Stu doesn't want an envelope from those guys. Dan the Weatherman Stu out. I'll see you later. Hey, wait a minute. You're not supposed to leave without the envelope. They told me to hand you the envelope. Hey, and he's gone. And he's gone. You're going to go after him, right? Yeah, I obviously know the answer to that. So while you go and give chase like an episode of Tom and Jerry, I think it's time for us to give a chase right directly back into these musical tunes. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the Indy Report right after this. So don't get caught in the moonlight running from businessmen just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you Streetlight Crusaders, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, Dan the Weatherman Stu was caught and given the envelope by force, or after a friendly conversation at a red light while they were driving some fancy 1920s mobster car down the street. And I asked them, can I ride in that car in the near future? And they said maybe in the future. But is that the reason why I got this suit? Still trying to figure that out. But besides trying to figure that out, folks, I think it's time for us to go into one of my favorite parts of the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Indy Report, which is me giving you guys 2 news stories followed up by local content information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And in our first news story, or more or less in public domain horror news, the first official trailer for the said film of Bambi the Reckoning has been released. And after checking out this film trailer, it reminds me of something that was created during the Sci-Fi original movie series that they would have on Sci-Fi every Saturday night. And yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but either way you look at it, yeah. Never in my wildest years I would ever see Bambi get turned into a horror film, but it's only a matter of time before we see other lovable characters from our childhood outside the lines of, I think The Little Mermaid might be next. That or anybody from The Jungle Book, Tarzan, you name it. The second it hits public domain, there's going to be a horror movie for it every year until the living ends, starring James Bond. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the trailer featuring Bambi taking out people in a way that, will make you wonder about life, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Jagged Edge Productions to check it out for yourselves. And as a little bit of a heads up, this movie will be coming out as of this summer, and the production of the big payoff of all of this, known as the Ponyverse Monsters Assemble, will go into production as of this summer. And if you haven't seen the picture for that masterpiece, go look it up, because it actually features Winnie the Pooh riding on the back of Bambi trying to chase somebody down and kill him with Pinocchio somewhere in the background. Yikes. And in other news, and more or less New Legacy Inc. news, with the release of 2K25 for you fans out there who was able to get the Dead Man or the Bloodline edition of the game, New Legacy Inc. would waste no time and would decide to get back into the mix with a MyGM mode with 4 players. And the fact that we would see Slip Down making a return, Jericho being involved, as well as Johnny and Adam all competing to find out who's gonna go home with the ultimate prize of being the best GM. My money, you know what? I think my money's gonna be on none other than Johnny to win this, because he was able to pick the GM first. And the ones who are able to pick the GM first usually has the best advantage. But unfortunately, none of them picking NXT Mutiny for their brand. Always wanted to see what that would be like. But before we try to wonder what sort of action we can expect from the world of GM mode from New Legacy Inc., if you guys want to go ahead and check out the first part of GM mode for New Legacy Inc., then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube or Twitch page of one man only known as New Legacy Inc. to check it out for yourselves. And with that said, folks, we now make our way on over towards the concert information for this week, where we kick things off with Wednesday, March 12th. And the first band we have up is Steven Evans with Chris Wilhelm, Alma Russ, Andrew Scotchy, and 12 other bands yet to be announced, who's all going to be performing at the Eagle Eye Music Hall and Pub in Asherville, North Carolina at 6 p.m. And Carl and the Maestro still amazed about the 12 bands that are going to be there. That has to be a big music hall for all of them to perform in. And the next band we have up is Red Moon 1 with Hookers and Blow. Nice band names. It's all going to be performing at the Whiskey A Go Go in West Hollywood, California. At 6 p.m., Ripple All Stars is going to be performing at the Bitter End in New York, New York. At 6 p.m., The Comeback Kid with Koyo and Desmerade is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California. At 6 p.m., you can also see Death Ride with Smile Empty Soul, Zach Myers, Scotty Austin, and one other band yet to be announced, who's all going to be performing at the Sunshine Studios Live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. At 6:30 p.m., Honey Maid is going to be performing at the Saxton Pub in Austin, Texas. At 8 p.m., and to finally wrap things up for Wednesday night, you can see John Michael Ferrari with Sophie Love, who's both going to be performing at the Commodore Grill in Nashville, Tennessee at 8:30 p.m. And on Thursday, March 13th, one day off from some serious bad luck, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. The C4 Band is going to be performing at the Bobby's Idle Hour Tavern in Nashville, Tennessee at 12 p.m. or 12:30 according to Carl and the Maestro. Next bands we have up is Arcade 9 with Marilyn, Alex Springs, and Maurice Memento, and one other band yet to be announced, who's all going to be performing at the Universal Bar and Grill in North Hollywood, California. At 5:30 p.m., Suicide Forest with Pneumonic Decomposition and Deity is all going to be performing at the NCOM Cyber Hall in Norman, Oklahoma. At 6 p.m., very interesting band names this week, and Colin the Maestro agrees. Anyway, next band we have up is Mary, who's going to be performing at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, Tennessee. At 6 p.m., Nathan Hubble is going to be performing at the Luna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas. At 7 p.m., a Trey Police with the Replicant and the Last of Lucy is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California. At 7 p.m., Treehouse is going to be performing at the Poorhouse Music Hall in Raleigh, North Carolina. At 7 p.m., Panic Fire is going to be performing at the OCC Roadhouse and Museum in Clearwater, Florida. At 7 p.m., Buck Yeager is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas. At 7 p.m., Summer School in spring or pre-spring is going to be performing at the San Jacques Saloon in Austin, Texas. At 8 p.m., you can also see Lena Prima, who's going to be performing at the Carousel Bar and Lounge and Hotel Montalone in New Orleans, Louisiana. At 9 p.m., and to finally wrap things up for Thursday night, you can see none other than the Believins, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 10 p.m. And for Tuesday for next week, which is the 18th of March, you can see these following bands performing in a local area live near you. John Mans is going to be performing at the Spinderella's Off the Wall in Gresham, Oregon at 5:30 p.m. Winnie Brave is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 6 p.m. Warbringer Elegian with Skeletal Remains and Summoning the Witch. Nice band names. is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California. At 6 p.m., Nate Nielsen Acoustic is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas. At 7 p.m., Rachel Koba is going to be performing at the Little Bar Restaurant in Goodland, Florida. At 7 p.m., Marty C. Moore is going to be performing at the Froggies in Virginia Beach, Virginia. At 7 p.m., you can also see Craig Bighart with Cimarron 615, who's all going to be performing at the Jammin' Java DC in Vienna, Virginia. At 7:30 p.m., Russell Howard is going to be performing at the House of Blues in Houston, Texas. At 7:30 p.m., the Rob Garcia Band is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas. At 9 p.m., and to finally wrap things up for Tuesday for next week and all the bands we're going to mention for this week, you can see none other than Austin Mays with Haley Anna, who's all going to be performing at the Saxton Pub in Austin, Texas at 10 p.m. If you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there, check out a couple of their cool tunes. Trust me, worth the listen. And like we say at the end of all of these skits, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for the Tuesday Night Special for this week, right after this. So don't go watching infomercials just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, all you Streetlight Crusaders, seeing the fact that we are fresh out of Streetlight Crusading oil for the night and we've got to get out of here to get some more for next week's show, we might as well bring the Tuesday Night Special for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of that Streetlight delight that we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered, because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages, still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Tuesday Night Special 530. And Carl and my show was a little worried this week that we would get real close to that time, but I think we're off about 4, maybe 3 hours? We'll go with 3 to be safe. Whew. And if you guys want to figure out what the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this month of madness, like a milestone that almost saw daybreak, if you can head on over to our YouTube, Twitter, and Discord pages, still all made the same, only known as the Double Agent 0012. And Carl and the Maestro cut it out by putting the sun up outside of one of the windows, because I almost got tripped up by that. And before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the Streetlight Crusaders out there, for listening in to another late night milestone delight edition of the Tuesday Night Special. And if you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Angelica after she got pudding after that one episode where she broke her leg on Rugrats. Yeah, and the PR department said, you know what scene we want to hear about, and they're currently laid up in a bed with a cast with an Angelica doll next to them. Get out of my bed, knock that off. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys. And here's hoping your music gets featured during a classic animated show that still stands the test of time to this day. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. That's why. And speaking of people's music that'll be able to stand the test of time featured during shows, we would like to thank our musical guest for this week, none other than Jason Klug with his said song of Pet the Dog that was featured during the intro for this week's edition of the show. And of course, to Carl and the Maestro with their said song of Late Night Cafe Wrap-Up that's currently being featured during the outro for this week as we speak to wrap things up for the Tuesday Night Special. Like always, Carl and the Maestro, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And same thing for you, Jason Klug. Keep up the great work. And finally, last but not least, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet, sweet video game hits and clips that we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And like always, keep them coming, because you never know what show might be coming around the corner next. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there, how we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for you up-all-nighters, late-night drivers, insomniatic TV watchers, gamers, grapplers, and especially you streetlight crusaders celebrating a milestone show near daybreak, as always, saying, why are you making chocolate pudding at 4 a.m.? Because I lost entire control of my life. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for a very special winter send-off of Late Night Madness edition of the Tuesday Night Special. But until then, go get some sleep, and good night, everybody.